it is, the legend, the myth, the monster that was Saddam Hussein. In the heart of the unforgiving Iraqi desert lies the city of Tikrit, a place where ancient ruins tell stories of empires long gone. Here, on April 28, 1937, amidst the crumbling grandeur, a new story began. This was the day that Saddam Hussein was born. His birth certificate tells a simple tale: the son of a local farmer, a Muslim of Sunni Arab descent. But destiny had plans far grander, far darker than the quiet life of a farmer's son. As a young boy, Saddam grew up in a harsh environment. His father left the family before he was born, leaving them to fend for themselves in a society where the strong preyed on the weak. At the age of 9, his mother remarried, and soon Saddam found himself part of a large, chaotic family. It was a childhood filled with struggles for survival, which instilled in him a fierce determination to succeed at any cost. He started working at an early age to help support his family, tending sheep and peddling ice cream in the streets. It was a tough existence, but it forged in him a relentless drive and a keen understanding of the realities of life for ordinary people. It was during these formative years that Saddam began to show signs of leadership. While attending elementary school, he quickly rose to become a student leader, rallying his peers to his cause. One incident in particular demonstrated the qualities that would later make him infamous. After a fight with a teacher, Saddam rallied his classmates to boycott classes until the teacher was fired. It was a display of power and manipulation that foreshadowed the tactics he would employ later as a ruthless dictator. By the time he reached his teenage years, Saddam was deeply affected by the political events unfolding around him. The turbulent times of post-World War II, Iraq became a battleground for various factions vying for power, and young Saddam was captivated by the intrigues of the political arena. It was during this period that he came under the influence of the Arab nationalist Ba'ath Party, an organization that promised a new future for Iraq. The Ba'ath Party's ideology of pan-Arabism, socialism, and anti-colonialism resonated with Saddam's desire for power and prestige. The party's clandestine operations also appealed to his sense of adventure and his thirst for action. In the early 1950s, Saddam joined the Ba'ath Party, immersing himself in its activities and quickly rising through the ranks. Under the mentorship of senior party members, Saddam honed his political skills, learning the art of intrigue, manipulation, and ruthlessness that would later become his trademark. As the years passed, Saddam proved himself to be a dedicated and cunning member of the party, carrying out missions with precision and showing a willingness to do whatever it took to achieve the party's goals. By the late 1960s, Saddam was at the center of the party's operations in Baghdad, the capital city. His intelligence and charisma made him a natural choice for leadership, and soon he found himself playing a key role in the party's strategy to seize power. In July 1968, the Ba'ath Party, with Saddam playing a pivotal role, successfully overthrew the government in a bloodless coup. Overnight, Saddam went from being a dedicated party member to a key player in the new regime. In the aftermath of the coup, Saddam was appointed to a series of influential positions, giving him significant power and influence over the country. Despite his newfound power, Saddam knew that he couldn't afford to be complacent. He continued to work tirelessly, maintaining his connections with party members and keeping a close eye on his rivals. As the years went by, Saddam consolidated his power, eliminating potential threats and ensuring that the Ba'ath Party's grip on the country remained firm. Meanwhile, Iraq's neighbors were undergoing their own revolutions and power struggles, and Saddam was keenly aware that Iraq needed to be strong to survive. In 1979, when President Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr stepped down due to ill health, Saddam seized the opportunity to take the presidency. It was a move that would change Iraq and the region forever. In the early days of his presidency, Saddam carefully cultivated an image of a strong and decisive leader. He embarked on ambitious modernization programs, investing in infrastructure, education, and healthcare. These policies resonated with the Iraqi people, who saw in Saddam a leader who could take Iraq to new heights. However, beneath this veneer of progress, Saddam was also consolidating his power. He established a network of informants and loyalists throughout the country, keeping a close eye on potential threats. Anyone who opposed the regime was swiftly dealt with, silenced, or exiled. Saddam's regime quickly became known for its brutality, with thousands of people disappearing without a trace. In 1980, when Iran's new Islamic government came to power, Saddam saw an opportunity to expand his influence in the region. He initiated a series of attacks along the Iran-Iraq border, marking the beginning of the Iran-Iraq War. The war was brutal and lasted for 8 years. It was marked by chemical attacks, scorched earth tactics, and a high death toll. The war drained Iraq's resources, but it also served to rally the Iraqi people behind Saddam. But even as the war raged on, Saddam kept a close eye on those who opposed him. In the northern part of Iraq, the Kurds had long been a thorn in his side. Their desire for autonomy and their links to neighboring Turkey made them a potential threat to Iraq's stability. In 1988, Saddam launched a brutal campaign against the Kurds known as the Anfal campaign. Thousands of Kurds were killed, villages were leveled, and entire communities were driven from their homes. In the years that followed, Saddam continued to crack down on dissent, targeting anyone who opposed him or his regime. The secret police became notorious for their brutality, and prisons were filled with those who had fallen out of favor with the regime. Among them was a young journalist named Aziz, who had written articles critical of the regime. He was arrested, tortured, and sentenced to 15 years in prison. In the cold, dark cell, Aziz plotted his escape, dreaming of a day when he could expose the regime's atrocities to the world. In 1990, Saddam made a decision that would change his life and the course of history. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi troops crossed into Kuwait, sparking the Gulf War. The international response was swift and overwhelming. A US-led coalition assembled, and by January 1991, Iraq had been defeated. The war devastated Iraq, causing massive loss of life and infrastructure. The country was placed under UN sanctions, and Saddam's regime was left isolated and desperate. But despite the odds, Saddam managed to cling to power. He played a dangerous game, balancing between the demands of the international community and his own desire to maintain control. The world watched anxiously as Saddam defied the UN and refused to disarm his weapons program. It seemed like a final act of defiance by a cornered animal. On March 20, 2003, US troops entered Iraq, marking the beginning of the end for Saddam Hussein. Just 3 weeks later, Baghdad fell, and Saddam's regime was in ruins. The news of Saddam's capture sent shockwaves around the world. For many Iraqis, it was a moment of jubilation, a chance to finally move on from the dark days of his regime. But others saw it as a betrayal, a moment when the country's dignity was stripped away. In the face of all the charges against him, Saddam remained defiant, blaming the United States and the Kurds for his downfall and proclaiming himself a martyr. He claimed that his actions had been justified and that he had done what he believed was best for Iraq. Saddam Hussein's trial was a historic event, one that attracted global attention. It was a chance for Iraq to confront its past and hold its leaders accountable for their actions. But for many, the trial was marred by controversy. Some argued that it was nothing more than a political tool, a way for the US to control Iraq by manipulating its legal system. On November 5, 2006, Saddam Hussein was found guilty of crimes against humanity for his role in the killings in Dujail. The sentence was unanimous and there was no possibility of appeal. 4 days later, on December 30, 2006, Saddam was executed by hanging. It was a somber end to the story of a man who had held so much power and had inflicted so much suffering. In the aftermath of his execution, there were celebrations in some parts of Iraq, but there was also mourning. Some Iraqis felt that Saddam's execution did not bring closure, but rather a sense of finality to a painful chapter in their history. Today, Saddam Hussein remains a divisive figure, a symbol of both oppression and defiance, a reminder of the brutality of his regime and the resilience of the Iraqi people. The story of Saddam Hussein is a cautionary tale, a story of power, corruption, and the abuse of authority. It is a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the heart of man and the importance of accountability and justice.